Hey, I'm Alex with Marc's Mobility, and in this video we're going to show you some of the 3 lightest folding power chairs currently on the market starting here in 2025. So what we have here are 3 power chairs that do fold that are all going to be very similar. That's why we put these 3 side by side. This is not necessarily a which one is best based on the video, but it's just going to kind of show you 3 that are going to be lightweight. All of these are going to be under 33 pounds when you remove the batteries. So that's why we're going to compare these 3. The one over here, the first one we're going to see over here to my left or your right in the video is going to be the Aerolux by Travel Buggy. Then over here in the middle, we're going to have the Jazzy UltraLight by Pride Mobility. And then over here, we are going to have the Phoenix, the newest version of the Phoenix that was just released by ComfyGo. Now, I do want to mention in this video, there may be other products on the market that are lighter than these. But what I have in here in front of me are 3 of the better manufacturers that you can find on the market. So I don't want you guys commenting or calling us back and say, hey, we found this Chinese product on Amazon that's a lighter weight. These are reputable companies. Travel Buggy is a fantastic company. They're based out of Canada, but they also have a branch in the US. Travel Buggy really stands behind their product. They have a 90-day wear and tear on their items. Nobody else really offers that on the market. Here in the middle, the Ultralight is by Pride Mobility. In my opinion, Pride Mobility is the best manufacturer under the umbrella of everything they make. I'm not saying every product they make is superior to every other manufacturer, but in general, Pride Mobility, in my opinion, is the gold standard in the industry. And then over here, we have ComfyGo. ComfyGo is a little bit newer to the market as well, but I can personally say we have direct relationships with the owners of ComfyGo, so they are a pleasure to work with, and they truly stand behind their product if they have any issues. So one of the first categories I want to go over is going to be similarities between these products. All 3 of these products do fold. Now they do fold a little bit differently, so I will show you that later on, but they do all fold. They all do come with lithium batteries, but they all do have the airline approved option on their batteries, and we'll go a little bit bigger depth with that here shortly in this video. And the last thing is they are going to be mostly all carbon fiber. So if you will look at them, they are going to look similar, but we're going to kind of break down the differences here shortly. Now on these 3, speed and weight capacities are going to be similar. I'm going to start over here with the Aerolux. This is going to be a 300-pound weight capacity. The Jazzy UltraLight is going to also be a 300-pound capacity, where the Phoenix Carbon is going to be 286. I know it's a weird number, but 286 is what they rated this at. So we're going to have 300, 300, and 286. Now for speed, you're going to have 3.7 miles an hour on the Aerolux. You're also going to have 3.7 miles an hour on the Ultralight. And on the Phoenix, you're going to have 4 miles an hour. Now what we're going to go over is we're going to go over battery size and overall drive distance. So I'm going to start over here with the Aerolux by Travel Buggy. This is going to come with a 10 amp airline approved battery. That's going to get you up to 11.2 miles of total drive distance. Now I'm only going to say this once in the video, but it applies to all 3 units. That is up to that distance. So the reason manufacturers say that is somebody at 100 pounds or somebody at 300 pounds might not get the full distance, the same distance. And also it's going to depend on the terrain that you're driving on. Just think about it, like if you're going to be in somewhat grass or in some stuff that's going to create more strain on the motors, you're going to take more draw off the battery. So all of them say up to this distance, but doesn't mean you're going to be guaranteed to get that total distance. Now the Aerolux does come standard with 1 battery, and you are able to upgrade and get a dual battery. Obviously, if you get a secondary battery, you can double your distance. So if it says up to 11.2 miles on a charge, double that, a little over 22 miles on a charge if you were to get a second battery. Now I do want to show you that here as well in an overlay. We're going to show you how these batteries come out. The one thing I will say about the Aerolux is that the battery does sit over on the side, and you can have a slot. You do have a slot on the other side for the secondary battery, but when the first battery runs out, you're going to physically swap the batteries to get that distance. It does not pull simultaneously off both batteries. Travel Buggy does have a different product that does do that, but the Aerolux does not. The Aerolux is just going to pull off the one side. Now, I do think there are some benefits to that as well, because what you're going to have is if you have a battery on one side and you're driving a certain distance and that battery is getting low, well, when you swap your battery, as long as your other battery is full, you should know you should be able to at least make it back that same distance unless you went all the way downhill one way and you're going uphill the other way. But rule of thumb, you should be able to make it back when one battery is about to be depleted and you swap the batteries. Now here we're going to show you the Ultralight battery by Pride Mobility. This is going to come with two different battery options. It's not a dual battery system, but you can get an airline approved battery. That's a 10 amp battery. That's going to get you approximately up to 8 miles on a charge. Or you can get a non-airline approved battery. That's a 20 amp battery, which is going to get you about double that distance, so a little over 16 miles on a charge. Once again, that is up to that total distance. There is not really a slot to carry a secondary battery on here, but I do want to mention if you did buy an Ultralight, you technically could buy a secondary battery and you still could fly with that, because as long as your batteries are under a certain limitation, which is 300 watt hours, and we can explain that in other videos of what that means. But what that means is if you had two travel batteries, you are able to fly on the airline, even if combined they were above over a certain watt hours. But if they're individually under that, you could travel. So with this unit here, you do have an option of either or battery, or you can buy an additional travel battery and then just double your distance as well. So now over here, the battery is going to come out a little bit different on this unit as compared to others. The battery is going to come out from the front, and we'll show you that in a video overlay as well. But it's a very easy design of how you remove the battery on the Ultralight. And then lastly, we're going to show you over here the Phoenix by ComfyGo. This is going to come standard with dual batteries. So it's no upgrade to get the dual batteries. You can upgrade the size of the battery. The standard pricing comes with a 6.6 amp battery. Now that's dual batteries, one on each side. That's going to get you up to 15-mile range. Now you can upgrade for a few $100s more and get the 10 amp battery, and it's dual battery, and that's going to get you up to 25-mile range. Now with this unit here, it is similar to the Aerolux, where you have a battery on both sides, but you don't have to physically swap the battery. There's actually a switch that we'll show you in a video overlay. You just go down here by your right ankle, and there's a little switch down there that's going to switch from the right side battery to the left side battery. But it's the same concept that you are only going to pull off one. So that same thing of where you drive a certain distance and you should be able to make it back with a secondary battery. This is going to be that same concept with the Phoenix. Now the battery over here, if you did have to remove it, it is going to be on the side, and we'll show you this on a video overlay as well. This is probably one of the easiest ones that I've seen on the market of how to change the battery or how to remove it if you want to charge the battery separately from the unit. So in this segment, we're going to go overall weight of the unit, and I'm going to start with the lightest to the heaviest. Over here, we're going to have the Aerolux by Travel Buggy. This unit is going to be 33 pounds with the single battery. If you remove the battery, you can get it down to 29 pounds. Now, do remember that 33 would be heavier if you do buy the secondary battery. Obviously, if they're saying the battery weighs 4 pounds, if you have a dual battery on this unit, you're really trying to be at probably 37 pounds with the dual batteries. Over here, you're going to have the Phoenix. Now, the Phoenix is going to be a little bit heavier because it comes standard with dual batteries. You're going to be at 35 pounds. So technically, if you did dual batteries and dual batteries, this one would be lighter, but just how they come from the factory with no upgrades, this unit is going to be 35 pounds with the dual batteries, or it's going to be 29 pounds, which is the same weight as the Aerolux if you were to remove the batteries. And then last but not least, the Jazzy UltraLight is going to be 33 pounds without the batteries. If you have the travel battery in the unit, it's going to be 38 pounds. And if you have the full-size battery in the unit, the non-airline approved, you're going to be at 41 total pounds. This next segment we're going to talk about is going to be the tires on these three units. Now, manufacturers like to throw out specs. We like to measure them or put them side by side so we can actually compare the products, because we're not exactly getting the exact measurements that the specs are saying online. I'm going to start over here first with the Aerolux. The Aerolux is going to have solid tires in the back. Overall width of the tire, I'm going to go with 1.5 inches in width, and in total height, it is a true 11-inch rear tire. Now, that is a solid tire, so that is going to be probably a little bit firmer of a ride than some of the other units that we have next to us. The front wheel is going to be a 6-inch by 1.75 inches on the Aerolux. So the Aerolux is going to have solid tires all the way around. On the Jazzy UltraLight, the rear tire is going to be an 11-inch rear tire, and it is going to be a perforated tire. So that is somewhat in between a solid tire and an air tire. It has little holes on the side that we'll show you in a video overlay. That's going to allow the tire to squish a little bit to somewhat replicate a little bit of an air tire. Now the front tire on this unit is going to be the biggest of all three. You are going to have a 7 3/4 inch front caster wheel by about 1 3/4 inches as well. But they are going to be solid tires in the front and perforated wheels in the back. And then last but not least, on the Phoenix 2.0, we are going to have an air tire in the back. This is going to be 11.5-inch air tire by 2 inches wide. So you will have the largest and widest and probably softest tire here on the Phoenix 2.0. Now your front wheel is still a solid caster, and you are going to be about 6.5, or I'd really say 6 3/4 inch front caster, and overall width you are going to be at a 2-inch wide. So overall tire size, the Phoenix is probably going to have a larger caster than the Aerolux, and it's also going to have an air tire. I'm not saying that's better. Some people don't like air tires because they're worried about getting a flat, but we do get people ask us, hey, do you have an air tire option? Because that's what used to be standard on the market, and sometimes people like the way that felt. Now, as we did talk about tire size, we're going to move into suspension next. So there is a little bit of front suspension on the Aerolux, as you can see right here on top of the fork of this front caster. On the Ultralight, you also have suspension built into the fork, not on top, but right here on the front of this caster fork. As it drops down, you have suspension on both sides. And then the Phoenix does not have any suspension, but it's also compensated by having the air tires, which would kind of give you a little bit of suspension. So now in this segment, we're going to fold these units up and give you the overall dimensions and show you how they fold. So with the Aerolux, what you're going to do is you're going to flip your foot plates up, because this chair folds up more like a manual chair. Now what you do is it does have a little bit of a release because it drops in a little peg over here on the side. So it's a little bit of a inwards motion you do with these two handles, and then you can take the rest of the unit and you can fold it up as so. Now these back handles on this unit also fold down. So this is what you're looking at in overall size when the unit is folded up. What we're going to have is an overall width. If we were to squeeze this together, you're going to be at 11.5 inches in overall width. Now in total height, you can take the joystick off because it is easy to remove, but without taking the joystick off, you're at 31.5 inches to the highest point, which is going to be the tip of this joystick. Also, the foot plates come off easily with just pulling a clip and sliding the foot plates off. If you did not want to pull the foot plates off, you're going to be at approximately 30, almost 38 inches in overall length. So do remember 31.5 by 11.5 by about 38 inches in length. Now, if you were to pull your foot plate off, you would get this down quite a bit. You would get it down to about 30 inches. So you could shave about 8 inches off by removing the foot plates on the Aerolux. So the next unit that we're going to show you folded is going to be the Ultralight. We'll show you this in a video overlay as well. There is a red tab that you can actually push with your foot. You're going to break the release. And then what you're going to do from here is you're going to actually pivot the unit backwards, and it's going to stand up on anti-tip wheels. Now I will tell you this, if you want it to actually physically click in place, they do recommend that you remove the cushion, because now it's going to click in place and actually be locked. That is a nice feature. The other two units do not actually lock in place. Now you are able to rotate your foot plate in like so, but this is what you're going to be looking at overall size. Once again, you can remove the joystick and you can remove the cup holder with these little knobs, so you can get the dimensions down a little bit, but I'm going to give you the dimension right here in this standing position. So overall height, this is going to be to the top of the joystick. You're going to be at 36.5 inches. Now do remember, this is standing up, so you can lay this flat as well. That was 38 inches with the foot plate. This is about 37 to the top of the joystick, but if you were to remove the joystick and the cup holder, you could be down to end of the armrest at 32 inches. Now overall width of this, it's not going to change when this is folded due to design. So you are going to be outside of wheel to outside of wheel is going to be your widest point. And on this unit, you're going to be 23 inches in width. And then if we want to look at it this way, I'm going to say depth, but it depends on how you position your unit. It's going to be from the front of the tire to the back widest point, and you're going to be at about 17.5 inches from the back of this top of the seat to the tire. So this is what you're going to be looking at. Now to unfold this unit, it is a little bit different. It is a tab that you push over here on the side, and it's going to break the release. And then basically once it breaks, you can take the unit and it folds back like so. And then lastly over here, we're going to show you the Phoenix 2.0. How this is going to fold is going to be similar to the Aerolux. You do want to flip up your foot plates, and then from here, I'm going to try it with the cushion. I don't think you can. I do think it is best to remove this bottom cushion so that it folds easier, because this is a relatively thick cushion. So just like on the Ultralight, you do want to remove the cushion. The back cushion is pretty small. I think you can leave that one on there. So we're going to see. Same concept. You're going to grab the two handles, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to push this together, and then your back handles actually flip down as well. So this is what you're going to be looking at here if your tires were in this position. Overall width of this unit when folded is going to be 12.5 inches this way. I'm going to go ahead now and just see if it breaks down any more if I take that back cushion off. So it does not matter. That back cushion does not really change anything on this. You are going to be about 12.75 inches in overall width. And then in height, once again, top of the joystick, it's going to be 32 inches to the top of the joystick. If you were to move your joystick, you can get it down to about 28.25 inches in overall height. The width is going to be outside of tire to outside of tire, which is the same as the armrest. Actually, your armrests stick out wider. That 12.75 is going to be your overall width. And then the length of the unit from the back tip wheels to the very front is going to be about 37 inches with the foot plates on. And then you can get it down to about 28.5 inches if you were to remove the foot plate. So now I'm going to give you a couple other specs on seat size and distance in between the armrests, because these kind of go hand in hand. I'm going to start over here first with the Aerolux. The Aerolux actual seat cushion that it comes with is a 15 inches wide by 16 inches in depth. Now, in between the armrests, you're going to get 18, I'll say 18.5. It's just under 18.5 inches in between the armrests. And then another important feature people like to know is what is the top of the seat to the ground. You're about 19 inches top of the seat to the ground on the Aerolux. Now, once again, this is a sling seat, so you could put your own cushion on there. This is a removable bottom cushion. But you are able to put a different cushion on here if you desired. One more thing to mention on the Aerolux, there are a few different color options as well. So if you check our website, in the description below, there should be a link, and that should be the up-to-date colors that they offer on the Aerolux currently on the market. The next unit we're going to go over is going to be the Ultralight by Pride Mobility. Now this cushion here is probably the biggest cushion of all three. It is 18 inches in width and 19 inches in depth. In between the armrests, you have 17.5 inches in between the armrests. And with the cushion that it comes on the unit, you are going to be about 20.5 inches from the top of the seat to the ground. Now, you are able to sit just on this mesh as well if you did not want to have a cushion. And then you can be just under 19 inches if you did not have the cushion on this unit. Now, there are no different color options based on the frame or the seat or anything else. So it is just going to be, this is how the unit is going to come, standard. Last but not least, once again, we are going to have the Phoenix over here. And the Phoenix is going to come standard with a 16 by 15. So it's going to be 16 wide, 15 inches in depth, and in between the armrests, you're going to have a true 20 inches in between the armrests. So that is going to give you the most width in between the armrests. Now, this is an upgraded color option. This is not going to come standard with this color. It does come with a black bottom and a black back, but ComfyGo does actually have quite a few different color options for their seats as well. That is an upgrade that you can purchase. Now we're going to go over the footplate design on these units. On the Aerolux, you're going to have two individual foot plates that do flip up. These foot plates on the Aerolux, at the widest usable space, you're going to be 6 inches. At the deepest usable space, you're going to be 5 inches. So 6 by 5. Now obviously you have two individual foot plates, so they're spaced out wider. technically the overall usable space, if you want to look at it one way, is going to be 16 inches because that's what you're going to have to put your feet on either foot plate. Over here on the Ultralight, it is a single foot plate. Now this foot plate does have a little bit of adjustability and overall height. There's a couple settings you can change it on. The widest point on this foot plate is going to be 12.5 inches, and the deepest part of this foot plate is going to be 10 inches. Now this does flip up in this direction for access as compared to the individual foot plates, but that's what you're looking at on the Ultralight. And then over here on the Phoenix, once again, you're going to have the two individual foot plates that flip up in this direction. Widest usable space that you're going to have is you're going to have almost 7 inches. I'll call it 6 3/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. So it's a little bit bigger foot plate than what comes on the Aerolux, and the distance in between is going to be the same at 16 inches from this one peg to this peg here. Now the motors on all three of these, they might not be from the same manufacturer, but all three of these have brushless motors, and they're each 250 watt brushless motors on all three of these units. So it is going to be the same on all three. In this next segment, we're going to go over standout features. So first of all, I'm going to go with the Aerolux. Now Aerolux, I mentioned this earlier, not Aerolux, but Travel Buggy, the company, does have the 90-day wear and tear. That's unlike all other manufacturers on the market. And also Travel Buggy does offer quite a few optional accessory upgrades. And then lastly, this unit here, price point wise, is going to be a little bit cheaper than the other two products. Now here on the Jazzy UltraLight, what makes this unit stand out, it is going to have the biggest seat. So somebody that is the tallest, and honestly probably the widest person, although it's not overall width for your hips, but just overall size wise, when I sit in all three, I mean, you'll see me here shortly driving this. I'm 6 foot, 200 pounds. This one feels like I have the most room to spread out on, and also having that 19-inch depth cushion is significantly deeper than the others. Another standout feature on this is when the unit does fold, it does lock in place. You physically hear it click. So it is nice when you're going to pick the unit up to transport it. It is locked until you hit the unlock and you disengage the lock, then it will unlock. But for just having it to be able to lock in both positions, in the unfolded and the folded position, is different than the other units. The Ultralight also is going to come standard with a cup holder, and then it also is going to have P&G electronics that are programmable. So we can program this within the parameters that Pride puts on it, but if you need to increase acceleration, deceleration, turning speed, certain things, this is a programmable joystick. This is a P&G electronics, and then it also is going to have the easiest way of disconnecting the joystick. It is a 4-pin connector that comes apart really easy, as compared to the other units are going to have more pins that go together. So the standout features on this are probably going to be overall size of the unit, the cup holder, and the electronics and the locking mechanism on the Ultralight. So now the Phoenix 2.0, what stands out to me about this unit is going to be the most room in between the armrests at the 20 inches. Not only do you get all the different color options, but it also is going to come standard with a wireless remote. So instead of putting in a tenant control or something else, you have a caretaker remote that will drive, we've tested it, 60 yards of total distance that you can pick this up. Now you cannot turn the unit on with this remote, but once the unit's on, you can increase the speed, do your horn, and drive everything right here through the wireless remote. Also, standout feature on this one is it comes with a dual battery standard on the unit, and then it's got a switch so that you don't have to swap the batteries from one side to the other. It is going to have the air tires. Now, all three of these units, armrests do flip up, but what we saw, most of the units stop about here. On the Phoenix, you're actually able to pivot that arm all the way back so that you have a flat back if you do want to transfer from one side to the other on this particular unit. And the last thing on here too is it is going to come standard with a light that we thought was pretty cool on this unit. You're going to have 3 different settings, from bright to medium to actual strobe light. So that's a pretty cool thing that's built in here. If you are driving a unit at night, I think that strobe light could be a very beneficial feature to have. So here in this outside demonstration, we're going to go with overall feel of the unit and overall performance of the unit. So first I'm going to start here with the Travel Buggy Aerolux. I'm 6 foot tall, 220 pounds, so you can kind of see when I sit in the unit, there's not any adjustment for the length of the foot plate or the height of the foot plate. Now obviously I could put another cushion on here. Now, if you did do that to sit up higher, there is no adjustment on the armrest either, so do know that as well. But I'm not saying it's not uncomfortable, but I wouldn't be any basically taller than me, because then probably your knees would be sitting kind of high up into your chest. Overall driving, it is a very responsive chair. I would say turning wise a little bit slow, but it's not jerky, so it is a smooth riding chair. Once again, this is that 3.7 miles an hour top end speed. Does have a nice digital display on here. I'm gonna go over here in the grass real quick and just kind of see. I like to test this. Like to do testing on all the different units. Because this unit is an X frame, you can kind of feel it a little bit in the frame when you're driving, because you're not on flat surfaces because of how it kind of folds. When I say that X frame, that folding, so you do feel a little bit of that frame kind of wiggling when you're driving it on different unstable terrains. But overall power in the grass, I'm going to drive all three and then I'll give my final comparison on them. But it did handle that perfectly fine going straight through the grass. So here we're going to have the Pride Ultralight. I'm just going to turn it a little bit so you can see, as compared to in the first product, you can see that my feet are, they're not so high up into the air. It's supporting more of my lower thigh due to being a deeper seat depth. And then I also believe there is one adjustment. Actually, it only goes up in height. I don't think it goes down. So you can come up. If you were a shorter person, you could get that foot plate a little bit higher. The actual back support, this does have that mesh back, so it does feel like it gives a little bit. If you needed a firmer back, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you are looking for comfort, that is very comfortable when you lean back on the unit. Now you can see this is pretty responsive on the driving. One thing I would say that I noticed right away is the motors must be geared differently or something. These are louder motors than especially on the Aerolux, and I'll give my opinion on the Phoenix here in a second. They're a little bit louder motors, but this definitely would perform plenty well. It's not a jerky unit, and then once again, you are able to program the joystick if you wanted it to be a little bit quicker or to be a little bit slower. Now I'm gonna go over here in the grass and kind of give my opinion over here. So overall, driving in the grass, I believe these are all going to be similar, but when you're at a stop position like this and you go to turn, you're going to feel a little resistance on the motors because they're not intended to go in the grass, but baseball fields, soccer fields, this is low cut, firm Bahia grass that we have here in Florida. But you don't feel that, the way how it folds, you don't feel any of that frame kind of wiggling when you're driving the unit. And once again, it has enough power to go through it as long as you are, you know, not with a softy sand bottom. One other thing that I did notice too that I did not mention earlier in the video is when you are driving the unit, in the back of the unit as well, it does have a light that comes on. There is no headlight particularly on this unit, but there is a tail light for visibility. And then another thing I forgot to mention as well, they do offer armrest covers as well as an additional optional upgrade when you're looking at this unit here. And then last but not least, we're going to go back to the Phoenix. Once again, I mentioned earlier you can drive this through the remote, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that as well. Overall comfort wise, this back does give a little bit here. They did say you can dual up the cushions if you get the optional upgrade, and you can make this a little bit firmer here in the back. Size wise, it does feel like the foot plate does sit a little bit differently than the Aerolux, as in, you know, where you're at position wise for your knees. You can kind of see, you know, my distance here. So once again, somebody taller than 6 foot, just remember your legs might be sitting a little bit higher. This unit is actually very quiet. Another thing I noticed about this unit too is it takes about 5 or 6 seconds to hear the brake click back in, which you'll hear in a second. Now I would recommend you always make sure your tires are fully inflated. But what I thought was cool about this Phoenix is when you're driving, every time you stop, you don't hear that clicking sound. We get people that talk about that. It really is a delay. The magnetic brakes do click in, so you will not be able to roll when you're on a hill, but it's a delayed click. So I thought that was pretty cool. When you're driving the unit around, you don't hear click, 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 click every time you stop to turn. I don't know if you could hear that click there in the video, but it's a really big delay. And then obviously when you start, you're gonna hear the click. I'm gonna go over here in the grass. Now this is set up as it's sold internationally. So the joystick does say, you know, over 6 kilometers per hour, but do remember it is that 4 miles per hour. It is that similar frame of how it folds up. So once again, as I'm driving over different terrain, it does kind of feel like one side of the seat lifts up a little bit more than the other, just due to the way how this unit folds. And I'm just going slow there so I don't scratch the bottom of the footplate. But obviously this remote is pretty cool. The actual driving of it is very smooth as well. And then like I said, it's really neat that it does have that light underneath the unit. So now I'm going to bring this one back over here and kind of go over all 3 products together. So driving all 3 of these in the grass, they're all going to be similar. So if you're going to say which one's better than the other, they all have similar size motors, similar size tires. So I wouldn't really say one's better for the grass than the other. I mean, obviously you have the most width in between the armrests on the Phoenix. You're going to have the biggest seat on the Ultralight, and then you're going to have one of the better price points on the Aerolux. So really, I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these products. You know, we will have descriptions with links below in the description on our video, and we really like to speak to each individual person to find out their height, their weight, where they're using it, and how they're using it to help us best fit the right unit for you. So feel free to give us a call. We'd love to speak to you.
Hi, I'm Marc.
And my name is Alex. We're co-owners of Marc's Mobility.
I started this company in 1995.
We sell many products, not just what you see in this video. If you have any questions or concerns, please call us at the number below at 800-677-6293. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.